3, 2, 1, and we are live with EJ Boxing Live. Michael Buffer is going to give me introduction.
Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and let's get ready for EJ Boxing Live.
100% to this date.
Take a look if you know the words.
Oh, we got my man Kyle, 6'6", Kyle Burton. What's up, Kyle?
What's going on, EJ?
All right, man. Right, Kyle, man. I hope you got an outside screen, so we're gonna do a breakdown. So I got some film footage from PBC earlier on of Danny Garcia hitting the bags and ERROL Spence. So you got the outside screen. Hopefully you can see my screen.
Yeah, I can see it.
All right, cool. Let me just get into it then. So I'll share the screen right now. So get it up. Let's see Danny Garcia first. I'll make it big. Yeah. No, actually, I'll put it back to normal size. Actually, let me get this. So we see Danny Garcia. Me and Kyle was just gonna commentate on it, and give us a take on what we see with my man Danny Swift Garcia. Okay. That one, that's this picture, isn't it? There you go, media, that's that one. Okay. All right, you see the screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right, cool. All right, so Danny's hitting the bag now. What do you think so far, watching him hitting the bag? I mean, Danny hitting the bag. He looks in tremendous shape, though, ain't it?
Yeah, he looked he looked solid, man. He looked filled out. He needs to put together a solid performance, man. Like he hasn't really good at 147, to be honest. I mean, the loss to Keith Thurman, I just watched that this morning. I mean, that first round was incredible, man. They came out bombing. There was no filling out process in that round.
Mm-hmm.
The first couple of rounds, to be exact. The third round got a little slower, but still action-packed. It was a good fight. He showed a lot of heart in that fight. He showed a solid punch. Like, he rocked Keith Thurman a few times in that fight. And the same with the Shawn Porter situation. But this is, to me, Danny doesn't have too many of these big fight opportunities left at welterweight, man. So he's gonna have to win this fight, in my personal opinion. I mean, this will be his best opportunity with ERROL Spence coming off that car accident. Even though ERROL looks good, but we'll see, is yet to be determined whether or not he can take a punch. And Danny just so happened to be one of the bigger punchers at 147. So it's a dangerous fight for both of these guys, honestly. To me, this is more of a career moment for Danny Garcia than it is ERROL, because Danny needs to put together a good performance, and he needs to win this fight in order for him to kind of stay alive in that top 5 upper echelon of the 147 pounders. Because you got guys like Gerald Henderson, guys like that are coming, or Virgil Ortiz. Like, these guys are coming in that division, so you don't want to be like under those guys once they start to get their chances at glory. You don't want to be like a stepping stone for those guys. So to me, this is an important fight for him.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when I'm looking at him in the back, the first thing I'm looking at is that every punch he throws in, he means definitely bad intentions in it. Another thing as well, I was looking at his uppercut he throws to the body. That sets up his left hook or his right hook, where he throws his combination through a 1-2, and he'll dip an uppercut into the body. The thing as well, I'm only for looking at as well, his hand speed. We're gonna get to ERROL Spence in a minute. Hand speed is very slow. Like I said to you, everything about Danny, he's in tremendous shape. He's fit. He ain't necessarily the big 147. If this was back in the early 2000s, early 90s, I don't know if we'd to live with some of them guys there, but this is how it is. It's very slow. Right, very slow, very ponderous. But the thing is, because he's great conditioning, which he has, look, he's tremendous condition. He can go rounds, yeah. And if you're not, he's definitely got world-class conditioning. If you're not fit and you're not in shape, he retains his power all throughout the 12 rounds. And as you can see, look at him hitting in the bags. He's looking to work the body, and you see as the later rounds goes on, these punches definitely going to play deficit. The only problem is, as I highlighted about his speed is his lack of head movement. You know what I mean? So when he's doing his lack of head movement in there, his dad does some pads with him in a minute, but his head movement non-existent. So he's there to be hit. We're gonna go to ERROL Spence now. Let's go to ERROL Spence. Switch it over to ERROL Spence. Hopefully the screen you got ERROL Spence on the screen right now. Okay, cool. All right, so ERROL Spence. So Kyle, you go first on ERROL Spence. What are you seeing?
ERROL Spence. he proved to me that he can box. I think he proved that to the world when he fought Mikey, who was a smaller fighter coming up. I think he's going to have to implement some of those same tactics, that boxing skill that he displayed in the Garcia fight. Because if he stands like on this square against Danny, I don't think that that's going to pay huge dividends for him, man. Like, because we don't know how he's going to look coming off this car accident. So, can he take a punch, stuff like that. So, we'll definitely see. But Errol is one of my favorite fighters in the world, especially at 147. To me, he's my favorite fighter. But I mean, this is a big test for him, man. Like, he didn't take a tune up, and that speaks to his greatness that he wants to go right in there with a top five 147-pound fighter coming off a horrific car accident. So that's like throwback stuff right there, man. So to me, like I honestly think that Arrow, if he can get this, if he can win against against Danny, who is a dangerous puncher, and show that he still has it, so show that he's still Arrow the truth, then hopefully we get the Crawford fight, man. Like I hope, the way Crawford's talking, I don't know if we'll get that fight or not, but I mean, this is a huge fight right here. So I think he needs to focus more on this fight instead of trying to call out certain guys. You got to get past Danny first, which is not going to be easy. But I mean, he looks good in his training sessions. He definitely looks like he recovered well as far as his physique and everything like that. So I mean, we'll definitely see. But I'm rooting for him to win. But like I said, I think he's going to show more of that boxing ability that he showed against Mikey. I don't think he could just stand in there and exchange with Danny because Danny's a terrific counter puncher, and he likes to, he likes to throw when you throw, and that's how he got Amir Khan, in the flash exchange. So I think it's safe for Arrow to kind of be an outboxer and get aggressive in certain stretches of the fight. He can get aggressive, but not totally aggressive. Or I think he'll end up getting dropped or hurt in this fight.
Yeah, well, I'm just by looking at the two things, the hand speed definitely goes to Spence. He definitely, I think Danny. Looking at Danny's looking all power punches, but like you pointed out, it's the punch resistance. I like the idea Spencer's got his left guard up because Danny, everyone knows Danny's got a really good left hook. We can bring him to the body and that. But right now, as you can see, he's hitting the bags very well. He's got a good work rate. He's more busy than Danny. You could see. Faster, more work rate. And look, he just keeps digging them into the body, working, jabs. I like he throws a lot of straight punches. Danny needs to get close to landing shots. The southpaw, Danny, you know what I mean? Danny's got a lot of good punches out for. See, he got the. It looks like Spence definitely got the reach. He got the height, and he got the hand speed, and that's gonna pay dividends down the stretch in terms of scoring the fight because Danny can't hit. Danny ain't gonna hit. If look at the work rate, he got definitely a fast work rate, and he's digging them in. But he definitely when he gets touched up. We can see how he's getting at. But like the car, I think the car crash, it scraped his face up, but I don't know if that messed up his brain or was he knocked out. I don't know. From the car crash, I don't know if he was locked out from when he got ejected, or maybe he was actually on the floor. But as far as I can see right now, I mean, he's not getting hit back, so it's hard to determine how he's going to win. My bet this I'm going with Spence, man. I think they picked Danny Garcia because he's definitely slow and he's ponderous. And he's a credible opponent to come back with. He's a good strong opponent to come back with. But I definitely got ERROL Spence Jr. going into the fight. Man. So I mean, I think he's gonna outpoint Danny. I don't think he's gonna stop Danny Garcia. You know what I mean? Danny's gonna be durable. I think he's gonna try to, but I think Danny's gonna be there. And if he tries to, Danny's got something like Amir Khan. He'll give one of them punches. So
And he's also circling to his right away from that left hand. You can see it in his footage. So, I mean, he definitely has a game plan. I mean, it's basic fundamental stuff. That's what you're supposed to do. But you could definitely see where his game plan is kind of like tailored around. Yes. Like I said, I think he's going to try to come out and outbox Danny in like the earlier stages of the fight. And then, like I said, if he can get Danny hurt or tire him out a bit, even though Danny has always displayed good stamina, then that's when you'll start to see Errol get a little more aggressive. But I just want to see if he can take a punch because Danny's going to hit Errol. Like Errol's is not the best technically sound defensive fighter, so he's going to take some punches. I just want to see if he has that punch resistance to take those punches and come back with something of his own.
Yeah, definitely. I'll tell you what. The thing is, everyone's waiting for it to see. Okay, if Danny hits him, but maybe if Danny hits him and maybe Danny hits him before. Would have hit him before, maybe he would have touched him up before, maybe he would have knocked him down before. We don't know. All we do know is that he's been in a car accident. What's up, Michael Thompson? He got Spence on points. Yeah, the Garcia's a dog. Oh yeah.
I
All
agree
right.
with you, Mike.
Yeah. All we do know is that Spence coming in this fight. This is a very credible opponent. Danny and his dad. Even his dad said he's not going to try to talk too much these days. He goes. We got robbed on some of the decisions, but hey, Danny was in the thing is, Danny. This is the thing. When you win a certain amount of fights, right? You step up. You had your Rob Solkers. You ain't fighting no more. You have to fight elite competition, and against elite competition, he's found wanting because of his slow style. He gets hit a bit too much, and he comes on too late in the fight. You know what I mean? And I think the same thing's gonna happen here. Spence gonna start fast. He's gonna have an old mountain lead, and maybe Danny comes in because his conditioning come late. But Danny's too slow. It's too work rate's too slow. But it's all gonna be a great fight. So Kayo's picking. Were you picking ERROL Spence? I got ERROL Spence.
I got ERROL UD.
Okay, yeah, you got him on points as well. All right, let's talk about ERROL Spence and Crawford because they've been going around Bob Arum, the contract, this, that, the other. I could foresee Crawford leaving, but Crawford's getting paid over there with Bob Arum on Top Rank. Even though Bob Arum's said these certain things about him, but I'm telling you, at this point right now, the fight is good. If they was to fight today instead of Danny Garcia, I'd pick Crawford.
Me too.
I pick Crawford. He's overall confidence and the way he look, man. I tell you, ERROL Spence is a good fighter and everything like that. But brother, something about Crawford, he's got the intangibles, man. He's definitely got. I like the way he can switch. He's dangerous, and it's like to get to him, you seem like you got to take something to get to him. You know what I mean? But so what's your take on that whole fiasco between Bob Arum and Terrence Crawford, and also the ERROL Spence looming in the background, PBC?
Well, Bob Arum just doesn't know how to, at this point in his promoter career, he doesn't know how to manage a top fighter. Even with Lomachenko, like, yeah, he has a better understanding of, because Loma's international and he's a white guy and all that stuff. So Bob will sort of promote those fights over Terrence, and Terrence even came out with something today saying that he treats Loma better, he promotes Loma better and stuff, which is true. And Loma doesn't even speak English. Loma doesn't promote fights. So if you're losing money out on Terrence, you should be losing money on Loma. Like, where's Loma's big pay-per-view numbers and all this stuff? He got this huge fan base, let them tell it. But I don't see this dude selling out arenas or anything. At least with Terrence, he has, packed Omaha a few times, the few fights that he had out there. So he definitely has a fan base. And with him being the pound for pound best fighter in the world, number one, you should have a little more respect for a guy like that, man. Like, look at what he did with Floyd. Floyd left and became huge. He became the highest paid athlete ever with no endorsements after he left Bob Arum. So, could this be another situation? I think with Terrence, he a little too older, too long in the tooth for that move. But if he does leave, go over to the PBC. You got ERROL, you got Danny, like, you got all of the fighters. Shawn Porter, like, even though him and Shawn Porter is real tight, you still got that on the table. Like, you got pretty much everything you would need over there. And look at how the PBC is paying their fighters. Like, I was watching that thing when Tank Davis fought what's his face, Leo Santa Cruz, and Leo Santa Cruz house is huge. And I was like, Jesus, like, this dude making that type of money with all those luxury cars and all of that stuff out there, you know what I'm saying? And Leo never really had any major pay-per-views or nothing like that, but he's getting paid. Like, Al Heyman paying his fighters, so go over there and you'll get treated with more respect, man. Like, he shouldn't have to go through all of this stuff if he's the number one fighter in the world. And as far as him and ERROL is concerned, that's the big fight right now. That's the biggest fight in boxing right now. You know what I'm saying? It switches, but that's definitely at this point the biggest one. And I think both of the fighters eventually come to an agreement. I heard of a 60-40 split and all of that stuff. But if ERROL can come out, depending on how he look in this fight, because if he comes out and struggle against Danny, that's really going to make Terrence sort of the A side in that situation because of how he did with Kell Brook. So Errol has to. It's important for Errol to come out and look good in this fight and get a victory. And there's a lot of people that think Errol's going to lose to Danny because of the car accident and stuff like that. So I mean, that's a huge fight. You know, you still got Keith Thurman kind of looming around a little bit. Like, so there's a lot of opportunities for him. Like, I think what Terrence is trying to do is cash out with Bob Arum with the Pacquiao situation, and there's no real guarantee that Pacquiao's going to take that fight. Like, you know, we haven't seen or heard anything from Pacquiao. He hasn't come out and said that he agreed to terms to fight Terrence Crawford or anything like that. So Terrence is kind of hijacking his own career, waiting on a Manny Pacquiao fight. I don't think he should do that, man. Like, Bob Arum has doubled down on what he said. Like, he wants to release you. Like, he's not profiting off of you, man. And you know, you should take what he say and believe him. Like, just leave, man. Just ask for a release on your contract and go to a better situation. That's, you know, basically all you can do at this point, man. Like, number one pound for pound fighter in the world getting treated like a stepchild. You know, that I don't think is right. But I mean, Bob Arum has voiced his opinion. He made it clear he doesn't promote you to like you think he should, and you know, you make a decent money, but I mean, the guy doesn't want you on his roster anymore. So just, you know, leave.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. You know, when it comes down to this end of the day, yeah, you know, Crawford has to make move. I wanted what's his name, Tim Bradley to leave. I want him to go PVC back then as well, and you know, to pursue a Mayweather fight, which financially would have been for him. But he's one of them guys. Them down. I think it was Tim Bradley who actually told Bob Arum to sign Terrence Bud Crawford. Actually,
Yeah, it was. But you see, the difference is, and I don't mean to cut you off. Sorry, EJ, but yeah, that would have been a nice move. But back then, you got to remember, Tim Bradley had options on the table. Like, he fought Marquez. You know, he fought Pacquiao like 3 times. Like, he had fights. Like, there's nobody over there for Terrence Crawford. Like, who is he going to fight and make money off of and cash in on? Like, who is that opponent over there?
Yeah, I think Tim Bradley, when he beat Manny Pacquiao and the way he got treated, but he's a fighter. I think he was under contract with Bob Arum. He should have left at some point when the contract, after he renegotiated contract. At that point, he could have went over to the PBC, and there was other guys. He would have got more respect. But you know, he works for ESPN, and he's happy with Bob Arum. He brought Terrence Crawford into them guys from down south. I don't know what it is down there. They just like low key. They don't like to ruffle feathers, but at the same time, I think this Bud Crawford is more crafty than we think. And man, he loves fishing. And I always say, because I do fishing as well. I actually do fishing.
Yeah, me too.
When people do fishing, they're very patient. They ain't no hurry. They sit there, put the traps, and wait for people to hit the bait. And that's how Crawford fights. He sets traps, wait for you to step into the trap, and the moment you show your cards, bang! As you see with Kell Brook, ain't no one ever did that to Kell Brook. I don't care, ain't no one ever did to it, bro. He was in shape. He just opened him up, and that's what Crawford does. And if Errol Spence or any of them other guys from the PVC fight Crawford, they're gonna find it, man. And I'll be honest with you, I know you mentioned his age and stuff like that, but this is the thing. This is where when you're at the latter stage of your career, that's why people start giving you more credit. He's got a good stretch. I think he's got more like a 5-year stretch of fighting the best guys to put himself up there. I mean, Mayweather said about the highest earner and everything like that. Now, willing to fight the best, Mayweather made sure where Mayweather was willing to fight the guy who had the highest paychecks. So whoever that was, like, it was Toro Gatti. He wasn't necessarily the best fighter. It was the guy who was paying the most. Now, Bud Crawford at this point it's slightly different now, because you know Errol Spence say if you're talking about money, Manny Pacquiao's it. If you're talking about the best in the division, Errol Spence is that guy. And it's a quandary. You say, well, what do I want, the money or an easier fight against Pacquiao that I know I could definitely dominate and win, which, you know what I mean, where he thinks he could win, dominate as well, which is going to be the hardest fight of his career, in my opinion. Or does he go against a fight against Errol Spence where, well, boy, you know what I'm saying? I think I got this. My skills should be able to beat his hands down. You know what I'm saying? So that about 2 mega fights. I think, you know, not since Mayweather and Pacquiao, since we had that kind of thing on the table. Now, if Pacquiao don't fight Crawford, then so what? Okay, fine. We can allow Pacquiao because he's done so much body of work, right? But if he was to kind of pass the torch to Crawford, it'd be great, because, you know, let's see where the torch can go at the welterweight division. You know what I mean? Because the welterweight division, it was good. It's one of the best divisions of boxing. We want to see that, but I right now he has to make the decisions about what we want to do. Going back to this fight here, Danny Garcia, for him to get back into the picture, to get into them big paydays, he has to go in and stop Errol Spence, man. And you know what? It's his best. His dad's got to be happy, because the circumstances coming into this fight is very good for him. First and foremost, he lost the belt to Shawn Porter. You know what I mean? His WBC belt. He's got a chance to win the belt back. And also, Errol Spence has come off a car crash. These circumstances, we don't know how good he is. But Danny is just durable. He's always in the fight. He's close in the fight. He knows that this is might be my last chance to get them big paid. So I think he gonna go. For me, I don't know how much his ambition is to go in it. Is he gonna be patient and try to, do what he's been doing before and wait for Spence to make mistakes, or is he gonna go for it? Because I tell you what, if he stays on the outside, Spence picks him off. If he goes inside and tries to make it a fight, which he should do, if a guy's in a car crash, your best bet is to go in and slip, and just start fast. If Danny starts fast, then he's got a chance in the fight. There's no other way I can see him doing it, because if he starts slow, Spence is just gonna get the rounds before he died. He's 6 rounds down, and it's like Spence is just gonna coast on the thing. Now let's talk about Spence. Is he a boogeyman? Is Spence the boogeyman of the division right now? Tell me, is he or not?
That's yet to be determined, because you look at the Mikey fight. Mikey was a smaller fighter. He was expected to win that fight. You know what I'm saying? Like he beat Shawn Porter. That was a really razor thin fight. I thought Keith Thurman beat him clearer. Kell Brook beat him a lot clearer. So I don't think so. Now, if he could stop Danny, then that all bets is off. But I don't think so, man. Like, I don't really think there is a boogeyman, because not one particular guy has fought everybody. I think Shawn Porter has. Like, he's fought Errol. He's fought Keith Thurman. He fought Kell Brook. Like, he fought all of the top guys, and he has some tough losses. But his resume is the best at 147, and he has losses. So I don't particularly think that there's not one fighter that's the boogeyman at the division, because no one's really running from Errol or running from Terrence or any of these guys. Like, they just have to negotiate and make the fights happen, and then we'll get a better understanding on who's the best right now. Even Manny Pacquiao still has a belt, and if Terrence can beat Manny, I'm giving him full credit for that, because if he can retire Manny, with Manny coming off the Keith Thurman victory, which is a young lion that a lot of the older fighters don't fight, especially in this generation. He was able to beat a young lion at the time. Keith Thurman, of course, was coming off a long layoff, and the Josecito Lopez scare, but he still got it done. So Manny is still relevant. So if Terrence can get him out of here and retire Manny, then he gets full credit, and then he'll have another belt. And then he can fight Errol for undisputed, and then whoever comes out of that, that's the best fighter at that division. But there is no clear cut boogeyman in the division, in my opinion. These guys have to fight each other in order to make that claim. No one's running from nobody. They just have to make these fights.
100%. See these fights, yeah. These fights is this fight bigger than Joshua Fury or Joshua and Wilder? Are they bigger? Are these fights bigger than
popularity? No, because there's a lot of people who know Tyson Fury because of the wrestling stunts, and the fight with Wilder was a huge fight. So popularity wise, no. But if Terrence can get that strap from Pacquiao and go into an undisputed, as far as boxing it is, because there's more on the line. Now, if it all depends on if the Tyson Fury rematch happens with Wilder, and then they go into a Joshua fight, then yeah, that fight is definitely bigger, because the heavyweights is the kings of the world. So you'll have an undisputed heavyweight champion. So yeah, in magnitude, yeah, that's a much bigger fight, and popularity is a much bigger fight. With I think people would much rather see Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua, because of the whole American versus Britain sort of dynamic you got going on. Like, what I'm saying, with Fury and Joshua, I would really like to see that fight, but I don't think it'll have the same impact. And plus, with the Wilder is afraid of AJ, and AJ afraid of Wilder dynamic, you had that whole thing going on for a while until both of the guys took losses. Ruiz got AJ, and of course Fury Fury got Wilder, so it kind of lost a little steam. But I think if these guys can, if Wilder gets that rematch with Fury, and he can stop Fury and get that WBC title back, and AJ can do his thing against Pulev, then I think it'll gain a little more traction, and then it'll be a huge fight. But we just have to see the fights, man. Like, all of the controversy surrounding the whole the whole Fury and Wilder situation with the glove gate and all of that stuff. Like, I just personally I just want to see the damn fight. Like, I just want to see the fight happen. That's what I'm most interested in. Like, just seeing the fights happen, man. Like, that's one thing I will say the UFC has over boxing is you don't have to worry about McGregor fighting Khabib. They put that fight together like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there was no stalling out negotiations. There was no, oh, he doesn't have that many Instagram followers and all that diva talk that you get in boxing. These dudes went right into it. You know what I'm saying? And I think boxing used to be like that, and they need to kind of get back to that because the Floyd Mayweather blueprint isn't going to work for everybody. You can't wait 6 years for a fight and expect for the fans to still be engaged and anxious and anticipating that situation. Like, you don't have that dynamic. Boxing's not that type of. Floyd was the only person to do that and get away with it. You won't ever see that again. So a lot of these dudes need to stop trying to pick up that blueprint, man. That was a blueprint that worked for Floyd Mayweather because of his character and because he was the skills he possessed and everything like that. So he was able to do that. And then they just had he had a dancing partner with Manny Pacquiao who emerged and was knocking everything out moving. So people wanted to see that fight globally. You don't have like popular situations like that anymore. So they need to stop trying to follow that blueprint and just get these fights on, man. We could have Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence 2 by now. You know what I'm saying? Like, so just fight each other, man.
Yeah, we will hopefully we get it on, man. But in terms of generating the most money and all them things, that people talking about the UFC, but like there's Adesanya versus John Jones. I remember there was John Jones that John Jones versus John. What's his name again? Oh, what's that again? George St. Pierre. There's other fights. Yeah, they ain't making them fights there.
You know, they don't make the money that the boxers make, but they do get those fights together more so than not. Like, you do have situations where you had like a guy like Tony Ferguson. People wanted to see him fight against Khabib forever, and there was always one of them getting injured and stuff like that. But they do more times than not fight. I'll say 7 out of the 10 times they always get those fights made.
No, I was trying to make a point. I was trying to make a point is that like the fights that really could take the sport over to the next level. Like, for example, see when Ronda Rousey was on her run, yeah, and Conor was on their run. The thing is, it was all well and done, yeah, until when they lost. When Nate Diaz beat Conor McGregor, that got stalled. So then they put Conor back in there and they try to build him back up again. So what I'm trying to say to you is that when the UFC want to build someone or push all the pressure in, it's all good. But the moment Khabib beat Conor McGregor, they put him on ice. They put him on ice for a year. I don't know if he got suspended by the commissions for the bullshit he was doing, but that shit was funny.
Oh, Conor?
Yeah. No,
yeah,
not talking about Khabib.
Remember, BJ, during that fight, man, it was a huge brawl outside of the ring, and it was
I know, Keith. I was just saying that. But what I'm saying is that when it comes to making fights that really can take their sport to the next level, Dana White's hesitant of doing that now because of really and truly, if you make the star too big, the demands get to the point where these guys start dictating. So he's got them at a certain point where he can dictate. Now, when I look over the UFC side now and I look at certain fights, I already know who's going to win. Right now, all the fight. I remember when I see Daniel Cormier versus Stipe, right? Daniel Cormier beat it out of Stipe, but they want to still push Stipe. Now, I know Stipe's from your hometown, he's from Cleveland, but my whole thing was when he beat him, then that was it. Like, but then he's like, no, you need to go fight him again, like a year later. Because when Danny Cormier was all rested out, I knew Daniel Cormier was going to lose. You know what I mean? When John Jones and Daniel Cormier fought the first time, you kind of knew what was going to happen the second time. You know what I mean? Daniel Cormier was bitter, right? But you kind of knew who was going to win. So, yeah, they're making big fights, but I'm talking about fights that I'm not too sure who's going to win. Like Conor McGregor versus Khabib, yeah? It was like, okay, Conor's still the guy. Is Khabib going to take over? Okay, Khabib beats him. Why didn't Khabib get loads of fights since then? He only had one fight after that, and now he said he retired. So my whole point is this. This is the thing about boxing, right? We can ride someone like Errol Spence or Danny Garcia and them because you know why? They win and they're active and they go into the next one and they go into the next one. It's not necessarily the big fights all the time they need to be in, but they need to be active and keep busy and keep themselves in the public because they've only got a short window in boxing of how long they're going to be. It's like American football. They only got a short window. So my whole thing is with MMA, they can probably do it into their 50s because they don't have to stand and punch. They can just go on the ground and do all that stuff in there. You know, you got people like Joe Sonnen and them, man. They can still be wrestling, right? You know what I'm saying? So I don't.
Yeah.
When it comes to their sport, I don't. Their sport is like it's still laying on your back on another man laying on top of you. Boxing is boxing's not like that, bro. So when people compare it, sometimes I'm like, yeah, okay. But boxing. Remember, Conor McGregor, nah, he never got his biggest payday in the UFC. Nah, he got his biggest payday in boxing, right? It was boxing who done that. You know what I mean? And even though he was saying, I need to go back to my sport where I can elbow people and knee, it's like, okay, you went back there and you went against Cowboy Cerrone, and then what's going on after that? What's going on after that?
He keeps because like he has.
You know what? You know why he don't want to fight again? Because the paydays, when he looks at the paydays, it's not worth it. And you know what? He earned more money in boxing in one fight that he needs to fight in life. Remember again, yeah, you gotta understand, Kyle, and this is for people listening. This game is the prize fighting, whether it's MMA or boxing. You fight for a prize and the money you get in boxing, because you got see the thing about boxing, Kyle, and everyone needs to understand this, right? You got a limit. You can get as many sponsors as you want. In MMA, you're controlled. You're in a certain amount of money, and this, that, the other. So what Dana White, he keeps them all hungry. He don't give them too much, but he keeps them still nipping. When you get someone like Conor McGregor, who's put his stock, he invested so much money in Conor. So Conor Mayweather, he wanted to get his investment back again, and Conor says, "Nope, I don't need to fight no more." He's like, "What do you mean? I've earned so much money with Dana. Why do I need to fight?" You know, and Dana's like, "What?" And Dana can't say nothing. He can't do nothing with Conor.
Yeah, because Dana want to be a dictator. That's the thing. He wants.
Yeah, exactly. And then you look at it, right? Then Dana's like, "Well, we put investment into Ronda Rousey. She went. Put investment in Conor McGregor. She went. John Jones is the best in the thing. We don't want to put money into him because." We just don't want to put money into him. And then you got Annie Sunday. We're not trying to push him against. We're not, because if they really want to build him, they put him against Georges St. Pierre. They'll put him against John Jones, and then you beat him, and then you become that guy. But this is what I'm saying in MMA. They won't do that right now because it's like they're worried about the stars getting too big and leaving their sport and going on to do other things. And let's go back to the boxing anyway. For boxing, our sport right now, we got a prime. And this is a prime Danny Garcia with a prime Errol Spence, and they're gonna fight. What's up, YG? YG, if you want to jump in, I'll put the link in the chat, YG. Because you know what? After this one, I'm looking to do a Daniel Dubois. I'm looking to do Daniel Dubois and Joe Joyce, because that's finally me and YG been arguing about that for a minute.
I got Daniel. I mean, you already checked me on that one. I said I picked Daniel. You said Joe was gonna whoop on him. So I don't know, man. We'll see.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna do a live after this one. We do a live after that one on that one, but we're gonna YG. If you want to jump in, I'll give you 3 minutes to jump in because me and Kyle kind of finished this up. But I must admit, I'm looking forward to this fight. The PVC are putting on real good boxing, good boxing, and the other thing about the PVC, they built their stable very well. They had a nice they had a nice young crop of fighters, and they blossomed the Charlos. The Charlos are out of this world. Errol Spence's, the Danny Garcia is still there. Shawn Porter, I love Shawn Porter. Every time he fights, I like watching Shawn Porter. I like Deontay Wilder. I like all the young up and coming fighters from the PVC. I like all of them. I think Al Heyman has been commended and putting them in there and building them into certain fights and making them a household. And also, I like the idea that they're on Fox pay-per-view. Is a good idea. And also on Fox, this being on Fox, some of them get free pay-per-view Fox, and they got the Showtime. I think America, in its way, you don't really need that, the zone. I think if the zone wasn't around, in my opinion, I think boxing would be better because, in my opinion, I think Showtime and Top Rank, I miss Don King as well. I really do, because I was watching that Don King used to put on great fights and great cards. People used to complain about his money, but that you get what you negotiate, not what you want. You know what I mean? And then at the end of the day, he was good for America, because America needs fights, and Don King made the fights happen. You know what I mean? So we've done our predictions. YG, I'll give you 10 seconds. You coming? We've done our predictions. I'm going with Errol Spence on points. Kyle's going my United decision for Errol Spence. Hey, Danny Garcia, if you do the upset, listen, it's gonna be a shocker. But boy, you put yourself right back into the picture. But we're gonna have to see. YG, you had your time. I'm EJ Boxer Live. That's Kyle. But catch you next one. Peace.
EJ, what you think about the Lakers and all those free agents they got, man?